Hey everyone, I'm your host, James Jackson, and this is ARCast. Join me each episode as we shine the spotlight on a category management or shopper insights professional doing compelling work in the trenches. If you're ready, let's dive right in. I'm here today with Polly Rowland. She's an industry vet and also a career coach. She runs her own firm called CPG Mentor. And Polly, welcome to the show.
Hey, I am very glad to be here, James.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us. Don't know if you listened in the past, but I do have a quick question for you at the beginning, and then we'll actually get, into full detail. So with that, I was wondering if you could share kind of a proud moment that you had in your career coaching tenure. So a project or an involvement that you had that you really, really enjoyed.
Yeah. Well, I have had so many. I've been had my own firm for about 5 years now, and it has been such a pleasure to really walk beside CPG professionals and really help them advance their careers. So the number one proudest moment happens very frequently.
Okay.
It is when my clients secure their next role. Okay. And most of my clients are in some kind of a passive or active job search, and I help them find the next role that's really going to help them advance their career and continue growing in their career.
Awesome. Well, I love that. So not one, it's all. So
yeah, it's all. It's all.
Awesome. All right. Well, now we'll get into the deep dive. So if you're ready, let's get in the trenches. Let's get in the trenches. It looks like you spent, and I didn't realize this, but about 28 years at Kraft in various roles. But can we start at the beginning? How did you get there?
Well, I would love to tell you that at a very young age, I decided I wanted to sell cheese and I wanted to work with products or people or processes. But really what drew me to this industry was the fact that I learned that entry-level sales reps got a company car.
Oh, nice.
What better place to start your career than with a company car? And since I had paid my own way through school and really was looking to, recoup that investment, that company car was a big draw for me. And, while not strategic in any way, that company car drove me to have a terrific career, not only at Kraft, but beyond Kraft and into my own coaching practice. So I am so grateful for that entry-level sales.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about those early years? Like what, and even before that, when you went to college, I don't know if like business was your major or what have you, but what even got you to the point where you were looking to a sales career?
Yeah. So, when both my parents were never graduated high school. So in our family, we talked all about hard work and really when you're talking about in the trenches, we were very physical. We were, my dad was in the military and he was a farmer and my mom worked multiple jobs. And so in my family, we never talked about education and it never even entered my mind until my mom married my stepdad in the senior year of high school for me. And he started asking me questions that no one in my family had ever asked, like, what are you going to do with yourself? And I was like, and the first conversation we had, he basically said, what are you going to do with your future? And I said, I don't know. I was working at Value City, which was a department store at the time. I think they still have a few department stores, but very similar to a Walmart.
Yep.
And since hard work was part of our family ethos, I was working full time during my junior and senior year of high school.
Wow.
And I was saving money hand over fist. We were also very frugal in our family.
Okay.
So by my senior year, I had some cash built up. And going back to that car, I was planning to buy a brand new, off the line Ford Pinto.
Oh, one of those. Okay.
Yeah, so that's what I was trying. That was my goal.
Yeah.
And my stepdad was like, well, maybe we could use that money a little differently for you.
Interesting.
And so he challenged me to think about, perhaps going to college. I had no idea what I was doing. I chose my college based on, here, I'm being vulnerable.
Yeah, this is great.
I chose my college based on a very popular girl in my class who said she was going to that college.
Okay.
So I said, if it's good enough for her, it's good enough for me.
Yeah.
And the rest of the story was she never ended up going there. She went somewhere else.
Oh, no.
But at the time, I am so glad that this has changed.
Yeah.
But we're talking many decades ago. When I was looking at my college career, I really thought I had two options. I could be a teacher or I could be a nurse. Anything else, I just didn't feel was open to me. I knew nursing was never going to work because I hated all of the stuff that came along with that. So I decided to be a teacher, and I focused on business education, which actually was a good move. Yeah. But that was because I had a really great business education teacher in high school. And so I was going to teach typing and shorthand, which I spent 4 years learning learning to teach shorthand, which now is defunct and irrelevant. But I did my student teaching. Yeah. And decided I did not want to teach.
Got it.
I went back to my stepdad and I said, I just trained for 4 years to do something that I don't want to do. Yeah. And he said a couple words to me and that changed everything. He said, I think you'd be good in sales. Okay. Wow. So I'm like, okay, you think I will be good in sales? Let me try sales. Yeah. So I went out and I interviewed with every type of sales position you could get, which was, everything from, services that sold uniforms to, people who put chemicals on your lawn. But then I landed with a job. I interviewed for a job with Warner Lambert, who at the time sold Bubblicious and served candy. And that's where I learned that the company car came with it.
And that changed everything.
And that changed everything.
Wow. So that makes sense. Now I could see, boy, it's kind of not completely, but a little full circle when you talk about, your college education and focus and kind of the teaching aspect and things like that, fast forward, later on in your career, it makes sense. So let's go a little further. So if we move into your time at Kraft, and I always look at people's LinkedIn profiles, and so you talk about a time that you had leading sales and that organization at Kraft, a $1.5 billion division, Kraft Pizza. So I have two questions for you. Yeah. First one, because I'm from Chicago, I love pizza. Mm-hmm. Which brand and which type of pizza is your favorite? And then the second one is, can you talk a little bit about what you did there and kind of where did you get the skill set that allowed you to go from, walking in and worried about a car to actually running that sales organization?
Yeah, I love this question. And, first of all, we sold DiGiorno, Jack's Pizza, and California Pizza Kitchen in that order of size of volume. Okay. And to this day, any flavor of DiGiorno pizza, it is always in my freezer. Okay. Kraft no longer owns DiGiorno, and actually that was a big reason that I shifted roles at that point in my career. But that role was a culmination of the rest of my of the beginning of my career to that date. And, in Kraft, I had the opportunity to touch virtually every category. There were 28 of them when I left. Oh, gosh. Every temperature class, whether it was frozen, refrigerated, or grocery, virtually every geography. I had the opportunity to be national and more focused on regional geographies and sales functions, right? Because when you think about sales, you've got sales information, you got account management, sales leadership, sales information, category management. And that my career had given me that opportunity to touch all of those pieces of business. When I started with Kraft Pizza Company, that was the first time that I had the opportunity to work with a DSD sales force. And that was a real challenge. It was a real benefit that the DSD sales force who sold Kraft Pizza was second to none. And we took the opportunity to really shift the organization from take what was great about DSD and build it into how we could use more sales information, more category management, and help our sales team who were in the trenches really drive volume. So one of the first things we did, which is very typical, is a category review and looking at our like a SKU rationalization, right? And we were able to really reduce the number of SKUs, but that takes, that decision to reduce the number of SKUs in an organization takes a cross-functional army, basically. You have to have finance and sales and category management and supply chain all engaged in an opportunity like that. We also were able to really work on that development of our sales people. And as I said, they're in the trenches. And we were able to arm them with more information so that they could make better decisions, because in every single store, they were the ones that decided how many facings pepperoni had and how many facings something else had, right? So it was, I would say, I think it's interesting that you started with that, because I would say that was my favorite role ever. In my career. And it really was one where we saw significant growth. We were able to, grow our share and leave a lasting impact on Kraft Pizza, which then went over to Nestle. And they've done a great job with it since.
I do have a follow-up question for you. So, we talked about, hey, you didn't really have a plan when all of a sudden your stepfather, what are you going to do with your life? And then you have, okay, I don't know about teaching, and so let's look at sales, and it's because of the car. And within your career with craft, was there ever a point in time where you knew that, hey, I think I want to be in leadership? And so was there a goal in mind, or was it just you went with the flow, and as you kept moving around, it just happened that way?
Yeah, the point at which I decided I wanted to be in leadership was right when I joined.
Oh, wow.
Because,
okay.
Yes, because I knew that, if I was going to be successful in sales, I needed to learn everything.
Got it.
And I graduated in May. I started my job in September. And with gratitude to Kraft at that point, they subsidized 100% advanced degrees. So I went back in November of my very first year
Wow.
and started on my MBA. I got my MBA within 2 years, which was so difficult. I did nothing but school and work. And I had this real, I had this real drive
Yeah.
because at this point, this was at the beginning of when Kraft started hiring people with college degrees. Most of the people that I was working with, primarily male, they were, they had probably been a store, a dairy manager at some point in their career. And so all of a sudden they have this shift to these college educated kids. And I was very, very mindful of the fact that I never wanted them to say that I was given anything or that I didn't earn it. And so I used that strong work ethic that I talked about earlier, and I worked my butt off. So within 2 years, I had my MBA and I got promoted. And then from there, I was one of the first people in craft, salespeople in craft, to be promoted into a marketing position.
Okay.
And that was a position where, I will be frank, I don't think I was all that prepared for it. But that is where I really learned about what it's like to be in leadership. And I was fortunate to write the Cheese Whiz Zap-A-Pack, Basis for Interest, and to launch that item into retail as a marketer.
Oh, wow.
And that was a huge learning, and really something that I kept building upon throughout the rest of my career.
Yeah. Oh, that's fascinating. Okay. I'm glad I asked that question. All right, so let's move on, because again, 28 years, almost 3 decades you're at Kraft, and then you make a move and you go to Quill.com. So I'd love to hear what happened there. What is Quill.com? And then you had the role of director of merchandising, which was a bit of a shift, I'm assuming. And so would want to learn more about that as well.
Yes. So let's make it clear that I left Kraft, like a lot of people leave their long-term careers, in a restructure, right?
Got it.
There was a strategic restructure at Kraft that allowed me actually to move on. But I will tell you that it shook me a little bit, right? It shook my confidence a little bit. And, but through that job search, I was thrown into an active job search, which now is very relevant to what I do. And I was able, through networking, to be introduced to an organization like Quill.com.
Sure.
Quill is a subsidiary of Staples. and a very much smaller subsidiary, right? But they had their target was small to medium sized businesses.
Sure.
So really think about businesses who need office supplies and they're going to Costco and Sam's for those office supplies. The way Quill had originally gone to market, like a lot of office supply retailers, was through catalogs. And they were making the shift from catalogs to online. That's why it's quill.com.
.com. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I was so fortunate to be brought into that organization because what I did at Kraft, what I was hired to do at Kraft multiple times, was to manage strategic initiatives and ensure excellent execution. And that was part of, even at Kraft Pizza, it was a strategic initiative to grow our pizza business. So I come in to Kraft.com really knowing how to get down to the fundamentals of what works in a strategic initiative, build those capabilities, and ensure that excellent execution. And, that business, you mentioned moving to the merchant side.
Yeah.
It was so eye-opening. 28 years thinking I really knew what our buyers were going through, and then becoming a buyer.
Yeah.
And hearing all of the sales presentations that people would come in with and really listening to it from the buyer's perspective and understanding all of the KPIs that we had and how we needed to drive category growth differently than perhaps our suppliers could see. So that was a huge learning experience and gave me online and merchant experience. Unfortunately, it was kind of short-lived. I was laid off from that position.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yes, after just a year. And they were very generous in my, in that severance package. Whereas I was laid off from Kraft and I had this really, it was, like I said earlier, I was like thrust into this active job search. I didn't know what I was doing, how, what really I brought to the table. I had to like work through all of that. When that conversation happened at quill.com, I was ready. I was like, okay, I know how to do this, right? I didn't have to start from scratch like I did at Kraft. And I was able to do what I knew what to do. And I landed my next role within a 3-month period. And I actually had multiple job offers. And I use that now in my current practice to help people who are navigating that period in their career.
Okay. We're going to bookmark that one and come back to it. But you alluded to, hey, 3 months, I get into my next role.
Yes.
What is Paris Presents?
So Paris Presents is in the beauty and think about cosmetics, makeup brushes.
Yeah.
Think about bath, loofahs, and that sort of thing. So very heavily in private brand. And I was responsible for 70% of that business. Really, it was private equity owned at the time, which was my first step into private equity, which I use that all the time now with my clients. But I was hired to manage the mass and specialty channel, which meant Walmart, Target, Kohl's, and Amazon.com, which was great since I had just left Quill.com. And I had responsibility for the full P&L and daily operations. So
Okay.
it was a terrific move for me.
Sure.
And in that time that I was there, which was only 6 months, but this time I left of my own volition. I decided to leave
Sure.
Paris Presents, even though I loved the company and I loved the category. We were putting points on the board. My next opportunity let me go back to really what I had done at Kraft
Got
and
it.
had been so successful at.
Got it.
So that opportunity at Paris Presents was, when I think about it, not only did it give me different category and actually let me dig deeper into customers, it also gave me the opportunity to really make a decision for my career that helped me advance my career.
Interesting. I did notice something that you mentioned in this role at Paris Presents, and it might be a prelude to what you are doing now. But you made this comment. So recognizing the significance of talent, I initiated the recruitment and onboarding of new account managers, and you described it as a forward-looking move.
Yeah.
Can you talk about what you meant there in real terms?
Yeah, when we, as leaders, we need to be looking forward as to the long-term health of an organization. And it was very clear early on in my tenure with Paris Presents that we had terrific account managers, but they were not well versed in where we were going, which was online.
Got it.
And so I was able to bring on some very dedicated resources at that entry level account manager role that would set the organization up for success long term. And I had done that throughout my career, at Kraft and even at quill.com, because our ability to identify the right talent and to develop them really is the key to success in any business.
Okay, perfect. So you made the comment that you had an opportunity to kind of go back, let's call it into food and into what you loved, and you had that great experience at Kraft. So you went to John B. Sanfilippo, and you were there for about 8 years, and even during that time, you were recognized as a top woman in grocery by Progressive Grocer. So can you talk about how you ended up getting recognized at that level?
Yeah, that was such an honor and, really was just like anything else in your career. You can take credit for the results that you get, but at the core of it, you never do it alone, right? You always have people around you who make it possible for those goals, to achieve those goals and to put those points on the board. And I think that really was the primary reason why I was recognized by Sanfilippo. They nominated me, and then it was the decision of Progressive Grocers. But what I brought to Sanfilippo was really the skill set and the recognition that it is through building these relationships across the organization and marshaling the resources on behalf of our, in service to our goals, that really makes the difference in an organization. And, my move to JBSS was a great example of what I teach today in networking. I had worked with a mentor at Kraft And he called me up one day while I was at Paris Presents, and he said, "Hey, we really need you over here." He was in
Wow.
marketing. And I was like, of course, I'm very flattered, but I had just started a new job, And he told me a bit about what they were trying to accomplish, which was 70% of their business was private brand, very strong private brand
Yep.
supplier in the tree nut and trail mix
Yes.
and recipe categories. But they also had these brands, Fisher brand, Orchard Valley Harvest, and some others that they wanted to build out the brands for the long-term equity building and profitability of a brand portfolio. So what they needed was someone to come in, a strategic initiative that needed strong execution. And of course, that was me. And so I was able to come in and start again focusing on the fundamentals of the business, which we all know in category management are the 4 P's or the DSPM or whatever you called it throughout your career, right? And that I was able to build the team. I restructured the team into, we had been structured as one salesperson was doing both private label and branded. And if you've ever had a private label experience, it is very different.
Very different.
From a branded experience. And we had people who were primarily branded people trying to sell private label, and we had private label people who were trying to sell branded. So this whereas you would think there's a lot of cross category pollination, if you will, it really just led to a lot of complexity in the organization. So by separating them out, we were able to let the private label brand people do what they did best, which is more of a general management responsibility. In private label, you are working with your customer partners to actually develop you're coming up with the ideas and developing the products specifically for them, versus a branded position where we are selling a branded portfolio and selling on the merits of what we're bringing to the category. So that move was really an opportunity to separate out those two and really allow us to put points on the board in both. And, the thing that right before I won the Top Women in Grocery, in the recipe nut category, we had a major competitor, okay? And we were the minor player. Fisher Recipe Nuts was the minor player. And over the course of my tenure there, we flipped it on its head and we became the major player and our competitor became the minor player. And that was just...
that's huge.
Yes. And basically that is what a cross-functional organization that focuses on the fundamentals of the business can do. And I really brought that cross-functional and relationship building to the table. That's what I'm the most proud of at San Filippo.
Wow. So, that sounds awesome. Congratulations. And it sounds like, another opportunity similar to Kraft. You're doing well, but I'm going to kind of say that's the end of Act 1. All right.
Yeah.
So we go into intermission, go back on the stage. Act 2, you decide to shift completely, it seems like, and get out of the business per se, not doing what you were doing, and going into career coaching. Can you help us understand what was going on there and why that specific business and role?
Yeah. I loved San Filippo. I loved the organization. I loved my boss. I loved my team. I loved the cross-functionals. And I was very well compensated there, right? Because I was doing what was in my sweet spot professionally, right? But as I was doing it, I just had to say, hey, I'm good at this, but I'm good at a lot of things that fill me up more, right? So I hired a coach, and and to help me figure out what was next, right? And that coach asked me a lot of really great questions, but the one question she asked me that really just changed everything was, Polly, when you're at work and you're having a really great day, what is it that you're doing? And James, I was able to answer it like that. I was like, I am meeting one-on-one with people and helping them figure out what's getting in the way of them achieving their goals and helping them overcome those. So I was the leader who had one-on-ones and never canceled them. Right?
Okay, there you go.
Because it filled me up, right? And I would have one-on-ones with the CEO, and I would have one-on-ones with the, director of supply chain, and because I really enjoyed that opportunity to dig deep with people and to really help them. So it's like, okay, well, if I could spend my day working one-on-one with people to help them achieve their goals, what would that be?
Okay.
Coaching.
Got it.
So I landed on career coaching, and I started really kind of mapping that out before I left San Filippo. But I did leave San Filippo and go full-time into this this practice. I started out really thinking that I would help early career people think about their strategically think about their career, so that people aren't taking a job because it has a company car, right? Maybe helping them think a little long term, like my stepdad did. And I did that for a while, but as I was talking to people and people were coming across my path, I was discovering that those experiences that I had, being laid off from Kraft after 28 years, and then going into another role and being laid off again, that those experiences could really help this industry, right? Because consumer packaged goods, whereas when I very first started and my very first boss told me, hey, Kraft hasn't laid off anybody. We were in a recession back in the early 80s, right? And he says, Kraft's never laid off anybody. You go through a 28-year career and then on to other organizations, and you find out that is important to organizations to make these strategic shifts. And it is up to the individual to manage through these shifts so that they can continue to contribute at their highest level in the organizations that really need what they offer. And so about 2.5 years ago, I made the shift to really focusing in on people in job search, an active job search, meaning currently unemployed and looking for your next role, or a passive job search where you are looking at you're currently working, but you want to pursue something outside your company.
Sure.
And it has been something that, this move. Now, I think you hear through what I've talked about here. I always have enjoyed my job.
Sure.
Right? Like
sure.
that's just because I had that work ethic.
Yes.
And so the idea of really spending the rest of my career in a place where I am able to mentor and help people advance their career, and that's the name of my program. It's Advance Your CPG Career Through a Job Search.
Got it.
Right? It's not get another job or get your next job in 90 days, or anything like that. It is about
advancing it.
Advancing your career.
Got it. So, as you were talking, it was interesting. You started talking about your situation with Kraft and then with Quill, and you kind of set it up by saying, it almost felt like you were saying, in my mind, I thought I would always be at Kraft. Mm-hmm. And so I wasn't ready because my mindset, but then you shifted and you're almost like, the reality is that companies are going to shift. You just got to understand that that's a reality, right?
Yes.
So if somebody's in transition, what would you say? Because I think at first you said you were shook by what happened. So it's almost like this was me. There was something wrong with me.
Exactly.
Versus the second part where it's like, no, this is just part of the business. So if somebody has gone through or is going through that type of situation, what would you say to them that kind of makes them feel like, okay, you're okay?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you the mind shift that I made.
Yeah.
When I was at Kraft, sometimes I'm, embarrassed to talk about this, but it's a fact. When I was at Kraft, I felt like Kraft gave me my money and gave me my insurance. They were very benevolent, right?
Sure.
And so I had to make sure they were happy so that they would continue to be so generous with me, right? When the shift that happened was I learned that Kraft was not benevolent. They were a business that was rewarding me for the contributions I made there. And so in order to I generated an income at Kraft, right? Because I contributed at a level that they contributed back to me. It dawned on me that if I could do it at Kraft, I could do it anywhere, right? And so that gave me the mindset and the shift that when I was laid off the second time, I was like, okay, well, no longer does Quill.com need me. Someone else does, and I just need to go find them, right? And then that mindset shift moved even further, that if I could do it at Kraft, I could do it at any company. And if I could do it at any company, I could do it for myself.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so I decided that I could create the value myself and be rewarded myself. And so I share that with my clients all the time, because it is a very prevalent, working in corporate America, we lose sight of the fact that it is our contribution that they're paying us for. I like to call it a value exchange, right? So it's like I give you value and you give me money and a network and skills, right? That's what I get from my side of a value exchange with a company. And what they get from me is all that I have to offer, right? So when someone, it's very prevalent. It happened to me. I'm sure it happens to most of my clients. And if it hasn't happened to you yet, listener out there, just be aware that at some point you're going to be having a great career. You're going to be putting points on the board. You're going to be solving all the problems, right? And then you're going to get called into an office. Now it's probably a Zoom call, but let's think about it as an office,
Yeah.
right? And they're going to tell you that they no longer need your services. And that point in your career has the potential to shake you to your core, right? But what I like to tell my clients is think about Superman, okay? Superman is out there and he's saving all the people and he's doing all the things. And when he's done with that, he comes into the phone booth, which is our Zoom call, right? And he's told, you're no longer needed, right? He has a choice. He can come out of the phone booth as Clark Kent, who doesn't know where the coffee is, who's not like sure that, just doesn't have a clue, right? Or he can come out of that phone booth, who else am I going to save, right? You're still Superman. The only thing that has been taken away from you in that room, in that discussion, was your ability to make an income from that one company. And sometimes it's even short term for that one company, because a lot of people go back to work for them. But you did not change. You were still the same Superman before that conversation, right? And if you keep that in mind, you can actually figure out what is it about you that is so valuable that your next company is going to want to pay you. They're going to want to throw all kinds of money and bonus and all of that at you.
Got
right?
it.
So, yeah.
That is awesome. I have one kind of a two-pronged question, but the last one, because we've been in this for a while. What percentage of people actually have a coach? And do I need a coach?
Well, I'll answer the last question first. Yes, you do, James. I'd love to work with you. No, I'm just kidding.
Sold, though.
Yes. The value of a coach, really, you should think about hiring a coach when you are having conversations with your friends and your family about something you're struggling with, and you really feel like you need help figuring it out. And that is not because you're substandard or you're like broken in some way. No, it's because, think about CPG. And in sales and marketing and category management, we're all about bringing the resources to the table. This is a resource that is available to you to help you achieve your goals, right? So to answer your question specifically, what percentage of people have coaches? I would say a very small percentage.
Okay.
It has grown since COVID. During COVID, there was a big surgence in coaching, and people started hiring life coaches and business coaches and that sort of thing. And a lot of corporations will hire coaches for employee development.
Okay.
But if you have, I would like to offer to anyone who's listening, connect with me on LinkedIn, and in your message, tell me what it is that you're struggling with, and I will help you identify a coach. There are coaches that help you with communication and help you with job search, help you with really any kind of skill that you want to build, any kind of capability for yourself that you want to develop. You can find a coach that will help you accelerate that for yourself.
Awesome. Wow. This has been good, Polly. This has been really good, but we've been in the trenches for quite a while, really, really deep. So it's time to just catch your breath. Let's kind of resurface and come up for air. Finally, coming up for air. Wanted to learn a little bit more about you personally. You kind of started talking about it with you in high school and your stepdad and mom and so on. But can you talk a little bit about you, family, where you live, things like that?
Yeah. So I mentioned that my dad was in the military. He never graduated high school. Neither did my mom. And he and his brothers all joined military branches of the service. And so I grew up with that military brat background, and anyone who's familiar knows that you relocate a lot. And there's a lot of change that goes on. And I actually married my husband, who was also a military brat.
Oh, I didn't know
and
that.
So both of us were very comfortable with the moving around and the change. And so we moved quite frequently through my corporate career. And we raised our children, not on our own, but never close to family, right? We had to take them to visit family.
Sure.
And we always said, from the time they were little, when we become grandparents, we're going to be with our grandkids. We are going to be present with our grandkids. And of course, a lot of people say, I've heard people in my age group say, never move to your grandkids because then your grandkids move and you have to move again. My husband and I are like, sure, let's move.
Yeah, sure.
So we just recently, until just a week ago, we owned a home in Indianapolis, and my daughter lives in Southern Indiana, Evansville. She has our 3-year-old grandson and soon to be granddaughter on the way in October. And so we have relocated to Evansville, Indiana. And thankfully, what I do, I can do anywhere, right? Because Zoom is my friend. And, we are just savoring every moment of being grandparents and being present with them, and just being able to be in awe of a 3-year-old is just awesome.
That's fantastic. Oh, that's fun. That's fun. All right, last question for you. And you've already dropped a lot of great words of wisdom, nuggets, but if there was something that we didn't talk about that might be a recommendation or an insight or something that you would share with a person as we close, what would that be?
Yeah, I hope that everyone has heard throughout my story really the importance of building relationships and building cross-functional collaboration and really maintaining those relationships throughout your career. This is your competitive edge. Those humans that I like to call them the humans because we're all the same, right? And when people come to me and they go, well, why am I struggling with this? I say, because you're a human, and all humans struggle with that. But those humans are your competitive edge. They will always be there for you to help you through and help you towards achieving your goals. And so, whether it has been, if it's been 10 years since you have talked to someone in your network, I just would tell you, reach out to them. If they were someone that you really appreciated working with, if they were someone that you admired, then when you reach out to them, they're probably thinking, man, I wish I would have stayed in touch with Polly, right? It's like, it's been 10 years and here she is, she's reaching out, right? And so those relationships really just cannot be underestimated in really helping you have a multi-decade fulfilling career in this industry.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you, Polly. Again, love it. Learned a ton. Fascinating career, by the way. So we really appreciate having you on the show.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, so you've just listened to another amazing episode of ARCast. Please look forward to more interesting people like Polly in the weeks to come. And please also don't forget to share ARCast with your colleagues. So if you have feedback, topic suggestions, or you yourself want to be on the show, please go to www.catman.global/ARCast. Just need for you to scroll down to the bottom of the screen. There's a submission form there. It comes directly to me, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Today's episode was produced by Zach Peterson and edited by Herman Mogos. It is recorded at Studio Xerxes in Minnesota. Our theme music was brought to you by Bryant Lowry. And a special thanks to my friends at the Association of Retail and Consumer Professionals for their promotion and management. Well, that's it for today. I'm signing off. This is James, and we'll see you on our next episode. Bye.